Whether you are an experienced medical practitioner or you're a student just beginning their studies, the Model Med Sophie and Sophie's Mum Birth Simulator version 4.0 will enable you to develop and enhance your core competencies required to manage childbirth. Before attempting a simulation, please ensure you have watched our video on preparation and maintenance. Between each and every delivery, make sure that Sophie and Sophie's mum are well lubricated. A spritz of water will make the birth canal more slippery. Our first simulation will be a cephalic birth. Place Sophie head first into the birth canal until she is in the pelvic brim. Place your thumb between the legs with your palm on her buttocks. Lift her pelvis slightly and push slowly. Do not push directly towards the vagina, but rather in a diagonal downward direction to simulate Sophie moving around the curve of Caris. This makes it easier to push Sophie through the birth canal. Once Sophie's head emerges, you can move on to the next part of the simulation. The Sophie fetal simulator will naturally want to restitute, but it helps if you give the process some assistance. As the mother pushes the fetus's shoulder out of the vagina, gently twist Sophie's pelvis. Sophie will easily rotate and demonstrate restitution as she emerges from the vagina. The midwife can both practice and demonstrate the correct techniques involved with delivering the fetus. The Sophie and Sophie's Mum Birth Simulator will successfully demonstrate both occiput anterior and occiput posterior deliveries. Our next simulation will be a breech birth. Please remember to re-lubricate Sophie and Sophie's mum as required. When doing a breech birth, it is very important that the mother prepares Sophie prior to inserting her into the birth canal. It is particularly important to position the arms correctly beforehand. This can be challenging when she is slippery. Position Sophie's arms across her chest and then bend her hips by pushing her into the birth canal. As she moves into the pelvic brim, keep a tight hold of her. Now gently twist her and push her buttocks out of the vagina. As the midwife practices and demonstrates the techniques for delivering a breech birth, the mother should keep a firm hold of Sophie. As Sophie moves out of the vagina, there will come a point when the legs will be ready to pop out very rapidly. To prevent this, it is a good idea for the midwife to place her hands at the back of Sophie's legs to slow the speed of the legs as they emerge. If the heels drag quickly and with force across the perineum, it can be damaging to the perineum of the Sophie's Mum base simulator and the mother in real life. In the case of a nuchal arm, the mother should move the arm into the nuchal position and hold it there. The midwife can feel for and manoeuvre the nuchal arm as the mother assists in making sure it remains in the correct position. The breech birth can then continue until Sophie is born. It can be difficult for the mother to position Sophie in the correct posture and successfully push her buttocks out of the vagina at the same time. There is another method to achieving this. Take the T-bar that comes with Sophie and Sophie's mum and fasten it to the metal socket between Sophie's buttocks. Now fold Sophie in half with her arms in the correct position. The mother passes the T-bar very carefully through the birth canal and out of the vagina. The midwife grasps the T-bar and gently but firmly pulls Sophie's buttocks out of the vagina. The mother should still be holding Sophie's arms in place. The midwife detaches the T-bar. The breech simulation can continue. Our next simulation will be the shoulder dystocia. Please remember to re-lubricate Sophie and Sophie's mum as required. Attach the T-bar to the metal block between Sophie's buttocks. Now push Sophie through the birth canal until her head emerges from the vagina. At this point, to simulate the shoulder dystocia, pull back on the T-bar to bring the shoulders into the anterior-posterior plane. Twist the T-bar in a clockwise direction until Sophie's shoulders are in that plane. Continue to arrest the birth by applying traction on the T-bar. The midwife can use all the possible techniques needed to resolve the shoulder dystocia. Sophie and Sophie's mum are designed to withstand suprapubic pressure and excel when demonstrating manoeuvres such as the wood screw technique. Once it is agreed that it has been resolved, the mother should detach the T-bar by turning it in an anti-clockwise direction. It can now be removed. Just note, you should never send the T-bar through the canal during a delivery, as this can damage the product. The birth can then progress until Sophie is delivered. If you have purchased the manual removal of placenta add-on or the postpartum hemorrhage kit, please see the separate instructional videos to see how to use them with the Model Med Sophie and Sophie's Mum Birth Simulator version 4.0. If you have any further questions, visit the Model Med website.